Okay, then go to your 4-view panel. In the front view panel, you go to view, you go to image plane, import image. Then choose your file. Okay, we have it here, but the image is very small, so I can enlarge it. Press R. Press R, click and drag, and then put it somewhere in the middle of the grid. Okay, after you placed it in the middle, you go to your top view, you move it to the back in Z-axis. You move it to the back in Z-axis so that it doesn't overlap with our model. For example, let's take a look. If I don't move it here, right? So what happened when I start to do the modeling? Okay, let's say I create a cylinder. Okay, and then I move it. So here it will be overlapping. Okay, we don't want that. So we just move the image and move it to the back in Z-axis. Okay, why Z-axis? So that it will not affect our view from the front view.
So it's Z-axis.
Yep, correct. Okay, that's number one. And number two, we don't want to accidentally select the image. So what we do, we put it in a layer and lock the layer. Okay, you go to channel box. You go to channel box, select the image plane. Select the image plane. Then you can see there is a display layer. Okay, click on this last icon which says create a new layer and assign selected object. Click on it. Okay, so what happened here now, in layer 1, if you turn off the visibility, the V is visibility, you can see our layers is inside that, the object is inside the layer. So beside the P there is a blank box there. Click on it until it is changed to R. First it will become T is template, R is reference. Okay, when it goes to R, right, you can't select the object. Okay, alright, you change this to R, reference, then if you try to select your object, you cannot. Alright. Okay, so here what we will do is we will create one of this teeth here, then we will just duplicate special. Alright, so how we're going to create this? Okay, so we can use a few different ways. Okay, so I'm going to create a polygon cube. Okay, click on the polygon cube, click and drag. Okay, so one more thing, if I want to put it in the middle here, I also can rotate my image, this image. Alright, okay, never mind, just leave it. Okay, so I'm going to start with the polygon cube, click and drag. Okay, something like that, and also the height. Okay, make sure not so big. Okay. Okay, once you have a cube, then we want to reshape it. Okay, before we reshape it, we need to add some division. Okay, so first thing, I'm going to snap it to the center of the grid. Press W to move. While pressing X, click and drag. While pressing X, click and drag so that it will be in the middle of the grid, number one. Number two, I'm going to add a subdivision width of maybe about 3, let's say. And subdivision height, leave it as 1. Subdivision depth, something like this. Or maybe 4. Okay, you see the subdivision height, right, is this one. This is the subdivision height. So I'm going to leave it as 1. Okay. Alright, 3 and 4. Subdivision width is 3, subdivision depth is 4. Alright, then after that, you go to vertex, right click, choose vertex, select the top vertex, scale, we just scale it, just like that. Scale, okay, make sure you scale from one direction in the x-axis, and your side view should be like this. If you scale from the middle, what happened? It will become bigger here. It should be straight line. Right click, choose vertex, and then you just highlight row by row, press R for scale, and then you just drag from x-axis. Okay, once you have get this, okay, what I want to do is change the pivot point. Pen drive. Change the pivot point to the middle of the grid. Okay, I'm going to press insert key, press insert, and press X. While pressing X, you just click the arrow and bring it to the middle of the grid, and then insert again one of the part here. Then we move the pivot point. Then what I do, I going to duplicate this thing, go to edit, duplicate special, option box. Alright, just reset setting. Okay, in Maya, every time you adjust the any whatever tools, it will save the record that information. So when you are doing different project, maybe you're going to use a different setting. So what you need to do, you go to edit, reset setting. Most of the time in the option box, you need to edit, reset setting. Okay, then here we need to duplicate and rotate, right? Okay, I count it, we have 24 items here. 360 divided by 24, you get 15 degrees. Okay, 15 degrees, number of copies is 23. Rotate in z-axis, 15. Then you apply. you see, mine is not touching, right? Yours also not touching, right? So what we need to do, we need to adjust this. But if we use a normal copy in the duplicate special, we need to edit each and individual gear. So what we do, I'm going to undo back. Okay, go back to edit, duplicate special option box. Okay, instead of copy, change it to instance. Okay, what does this instance do? Okay, whenever we edit the original object, the one duplicated object will follow. Alright, so choose instance, then rotate Z15, number of copies 23, then duplicate special. Okay, so what happened here? Okay, so it doesn't touch. Okay, so I'm going to adjust the, you see when I select this component, over here also highlighted. Alright, so I'm going to select this two, press R for scale. I'm going to make it to touch each other, something like that, so that it overlaps. Alright. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to make it now this format is an instance. Alright, so what we do, we select everything and then we combine it, or not combine, sorry, we go to boolean and then we unite all this. Okay, so what is a boolean? Alright, so let me just try first if we can do it or not. Okay, hang on guys, hang on. Okay. Guys, everyone, I want you to delete this. Okay, because why? When I try to union it, okay, we have a problem. Okay, so after I union, okay, what happened is I still have some overlapping edges. Okay, if you want to repair this, you need to repair each and every part over here, this thing. Okay, by that, when union, this thing should disappear. Okay, so if you want to repair manually one by one, it will take time. Alright, so what we do, we use a different method to create this object. Okay, so this can be done, but it will be time consuming. Okay, instead of using this method, okay, what we can do is we can start with a cylinder, something like this. Okay, and you see there is about 24 objects here, so the sides, the division, okay, I need also 24, like this, subdivision axis 24. All right. Okay, so before I show you that, okay, let me just come back here. Okay, just take a look first. If we have something like this cube, okay, I increase the subdivision. Okay, if I select face, these two faces, okay, I go to edit mesh, extrude. Okay, if I drag my this blue color line, okay, these two faces are attached together. Can you see that? Alright, this is the default setting. Okay, there is another one, keep faces together on. You can off it. Okay, just click to off it. So what happened here, the faces are separated. Okay, so here in this case, when we are doing the gear, right, so when you have a cylinder, the subdivision axis is 24. Okay, I can select the entire faces here like this. Okay, then I go to edit mesh, extrude, uncheck the keep faces together, or you turn it off, then you drag it. Then after you drag, you just using the scale in x-axis to make it smaller, like this. Okay, then you can easily get your this what we call your gear. All right. Okay, so let's repeat again. Delete. Go back to your front view. Okay, create a cylinder. Click and drag. Okay, this cylinder size, I'm going to follow the inner part, this one, or maybe the smallest one. Sorry, the smallest the hole for the cylinder. Okay, just click and drag. Okay, the height, you can roughly put the height. Okay, and then subdivision axis 24. Alright, then make sure it is center in the middle of your grid. press X and then you move it. Okay, start with this one first. Snap to the grid, create a cylinder, snap to the grid, make sure your cylinder you have a thick. Okay, this image just as for a reference only. Okay, so if you adjust the scale X to follow the whatever image, it is no longer round shape, it's an oval shape. Alright, calm down. Alright, okay, so make sure X and Y same. Okay, Z it could be different, okay, according to whatever scale that you put here. Alright, okay, after that I want you to select all the edges on the sides. Okay, go to your top view, click and drag the middle part only. Click and drag the middle part only so that the faces are not selected. Okay, got it? Select the sides only. Done selection. If we don't want to show the image plane, you see mine I already hide it. Okay, if you don't want to show the image plane in the perspective, you go to show, uncheck image plane. This is only for the perspective view. Uncheck the image plane. Okay, so you no longer will be able to see your image plane in the perspective. Okay, so after you selected, done.
So you go to
Show.
you have display.
No, show.
I'll show
In the viewport menu,
Okay.
uncheck the image plane for the perspective view. This one. Show, uncheck the image plane. Okay, the selection done. Okay, so now we're going to make it bigger using the extrude tool. Okay, after you have select all the faces of the side of the gear, you go to edit mesh, you go to extrude. Okay, once you click extrude, you click and drag the blue color arrow, something like this. Click and drag the blue color arrow. Keep faces together, must check on, must be on. Keep faces together, must be on. Then you extrude again. Press G, click and drag. And keep faces together off. How do you extrude again? G, yes. Press G and then keep the faces together off it. Click and drag. Then the red color cube. Click and drag. You got it? Okay, so now if we do this way, we have a problem also. The problem is if we want to reshape this part, right? Okay, we don't have much control. We can just straight away press the smooth. Okay, so what we do, you undo back. I press Ctrl Z. Okay, you bring this down, maybe half of the size, and then make it smaller first. Okay, something like that. Okay, maybe not so much. Then extrude again, press G, then you move it up, then you make it smaller, somewhere around there. Then press G, move up, and something like that. Can once you have done with this, okay, so let's go back to have a look over here. Okay, you can remove the selection. All right, so I'm going to remove the middle part. Okay, face this one. Okay, you can actually don't delete first. Okay, so select both sides, go to extrude, edit mesh, extrude. Okay, and then you press R for scale. You make it closer to each other again and again and again, like this, until the handle doesn't move. Then erase. Okay, again, take a look. Select both faces here, the middle one. Alright, then go to edit mesh, extrude, then press R for scale. You make it closer to each other, the both side, front and back, until the handle doesn't move. Then you press delete in your keyboard. Buat balik ya. Okay, done? Show you, if I go nearer here, okay, I go to choose vertex, okay, one of the vertex. When I move it, we have a hole there, right? Because it is not stitched together. Alright, so what we need to do is we need to combine, we need to merge. Alright, so you just select your object, right click, object mode, select the object, you go to edit mesh, merge, option box, edit mesh, merge option box. Okay, the threshold you change it to 0.001. 0.001. Okay, why 0.001? Why not 0.01? Right? Okay, so normally when there is a two vertex very nearby, okay, if you put a higher value, even though it should not touch each other, it should not combine together. If you put a higher value, it will become 1. Okay, why we put lower value? To make sure only the one very close to each other will become 1. Alright, so then I put 0.01, click merge. Okay, so what happened here? So if I select back vertex, click over here, if I move it, you see it becomes 1. Okay, so just to show you an example what happened if we put a higher value. Okay, now our objects are still not so complicated, but when we start to do a human head modeling, Okay, so for example, I choose these two vertex. I go to scale, make it closer to each other. Okay, so this one a little bit. Okay, so let's say something like this. These two vertex are close to each other. Okay, maybe another one is very close to each other. Okay, but still not touching yet. And this one touching each other. I scale it until it touch each other. Okay, so this point we still can actually move the vertex. If I select the vertex, I still can move it separately, right? Okay, so it is touching. There is two vertex there. So if I go to edit mesh, merge option box, I put there 001, then I merge. So what happened? This vertex, okay, because it is touching each other, it become 1. Alright, so if let's say I increase the value, merge option box, I put there 0.1, let's say, try first, apply. Okay, object mode 0.1, apply. Can you see that? What happened? Okay, even though it is not touching each other, I put 0.1 value, I apply, this become 1. Okay, but this one, it doesn't become 1 because the distance is more than 0.1. Alright, so if you want this to merge also, you can increase the value. Maybe I try to put 0.5 and see, apply. You see? Got it? If you put, let's say I put that 2, what will happen? What will happen? Huh? Let's try. What is saying? Got error message. Nothing happens. Because why? If we put 2 and then we merge, everything become 1 point. Right? So it doesn't allow that. Okay? So maximum is this one. Okay, so maybe I don't know, maybe 1. Can't even process. Okay, so it has an error there. Okay, suppose it becomes 1 point. Alright, so the more you put, the one which it supposed not to merge together, it will merge together. Only the one touching, it will merge. Alright. Okay, so partially we have done. Sorry. So come back here. Okay, we have this part which is slightly thicker a bit. Okay, so I'm going to select this faces. Control Shift, click and drag. Control Shift, click and drag. Okay, but we need to remove the middle here. Okay, after you make the selection, Control, click and drag from the top view. Control, click and drag from the top view. Make sure only the sides are selected. Control, click and drag to remove selection. Control Shift to add selection. Okay, so again from this view I press Control and Shift, click and drag, click and drag. Okay, after that go to top view, Control, click and drag. Go to perspective, check your selection. Okay. Extrude. Edit mesh, extrude. Okay, the blue color arrow, you just click and drag. Not so much, just a little bit to give some thickness for this part. Just a little bit. So both sides it will be coming out. Can? Extrude, rapatkan dia, baru delete. Okay, so once we have done this, okay, let me just try to press 3 and check what happens. If I press 3 now, we get something else. Alright, so what we need to do, we need to add some division so that we can hold the shape. Alright, so that's number 1. And number 2, we have some small, let me see if I have small bevel going on here, this part. Okay, so for that what you can do is you can use a bevel function. Okay, you can select the edge. Okay, how you going to select the edge? You shift and double click. Okay, so you have to do it manually. So let me just show you. Let's say you have already done your selection. Okay, something like this on both sides, let's say. Okay, double click, click, shift double click, shift double click, click. Okay, let's say I already selected all of it. Then I go to where is my bevel? Here, edit mesh bevel option box. Okay, just reset setting just in case. Then you try to apply first to see whether the bevel is correct or not. Okay, so let's say this is too thick. Okay, I'm going to undo back. Okay, make the width slightly smaller. Let's say with 0.3, let's say. Go to apply. Okay, so once the width is correct, okay, undo back, add some segment, maybe 2 or 3 enough, because this is a small object. So let's say I put that 2 and then apply. So go back to object mode. So we have this bevel going on, okay, throughout the edge. So you need to select all the edge, then only you apply the bevel. All right. Can? Select your object. Go to yes, in object mode. Merge. Edit mesh. Merge option box. Merge option box. 0.001.
Which one do you want? Let's just model.
Yeah. So for the selection, what I've done here, okay, so the easier way to make a selection, undo back, okay, I just select everything, okay, like that. Then I go to top view, control click and drag, remove the center part. Then I go to my front view, okay, control click and drag. Okay, after that all is removing the selection. Okay, removing selection is much easier than adding selection, right? So control click and drag. Okay, so you just keep on removing the selection, it will be much faster. Control click and drag. Okay, then this one, control click and drag. Okay, done. My selection is done. Alright, faster, right? Okay, then you go to edit mesh bevel. Then now when I press 3, I get this. Okay, so the middle one, okay, you definitely need to add more edge loop here. Okay, so now when I press 3, it becomes very soft. Okay, so I go to edit mesh, mesh tool, insert edge loop tool. Okay, because it's following the previous setting, insert edge loop tool, option box, reset the tool, okay, and then click and drag over here, 1, here 1, and also here. Okay, both sides. So you have this. Higher value. So for example, normally we do bevel for a cube. Okay, so let's say I have a cube. Okay, I want to make all the edges a bit slightly rounded. Okay, and then I don't want to press 3 also. So what I do, I select edge, everything. I go to bevel, option box. Okay, reset first, go to apply. Okay, this is very big. Okay, so maybe I reduce this to maybe 0.1 and then try first. Okay, so let's say, let me just close this. Okay, so maybe I reduce to 0.05, let's say. Okay, then the segment you increase it, okay, so that you don't have to press 3. Okay, so pressing 3, what it will do, even though your object is low poly, for example. Okay, so let me just show you. Okay, I have a cube. I go to show my window display, heads up display, poly count. Alright, so here we have about 6 faces here. Faces 6, right? So when I press 3, I have 96 faces. Alright, why 96? Even though we only have 4 faces, what it will do is very old version of Maya, they don't have this function 3 and 1. Okay, we need to make it smooth here. This function they have. This will permanently make our object by adding a subdivision. Let's say I have subdivision level 2. Okay, so what happened here? This is what it will convert to when it is rendering. Okay, so even though we press 3 in the viewport, you have minimum number of faces, but in actual, when before it renders out, it need to calculate 96 faces. Alright, so for example, let's say we will do the same thing. Okay, we have a cube. Let me just duplicate this cube. Control D. I just move it. Okay, 1. I go to add edge. Select bevel, option box. Maybe the segment I put 1, let's say 0.05. Okay, segment is maybe let's say 2, for example, or it's okay 1. I go to bevel. Okay, so I can see this is not smooth. So what I do, I press 3. Okay, it feels like smooth. Okay, so another one, what I do, I go to edge, select everything. Okay, go to bevel, 0. Maybe I want to make it to look like this. Okay, so maybe try with 0.2. Segment, maybe I put maybe let's say 8. I go to bevel, and then if I check, it looks similar, right? The first object that I select faces is 486. Okay, the second one is oh, this is very low. Okay, 384. This is after we smooth it. Okay, so it depends how you want to use. Okay, so if you are pressing 3, you use a minimum value. If you are not pressing 3, you use a higher value, so that you get a similar output. Alright, so it depends on what you are doing for. Alright, so most of the time what people do is they don't use so high subdivision. Okay, normally 3 to 4 only. Okay, or if you want to smooth it, then you use 1 only. Right? Let's see this. Okay, so here edit mesh, double option box. So let's say I put that 4. So this will be much lower, 150 versus 384 faces. Okay, looks almost the same. Okay, so if a single object scene, no problem, but if you have the same object, thousands of objects, it makes a lot of difference. Okay, so we use on like for example screw. We want to make a screw, right? Very detailed screw, so we have to minimize the number of polygon. Alright, because the screw will be repeating so many places. Okay. Here. Okay, this is done. Who haven't done, you cannot go back.